Welcome everybody to issue 26 of the Steve and Cimino Says Boom show on the Pop XP. We got Niall with Billy Tucci in spirit. Look at Steve looking cute with that background behind. Look, where is he? Where is he? I think he's in the negative zone.
Boom!
Give it to me, Steve.
Hey everyone, welcome to Pop XP. And before the show starts, make sure to click that subscribe button and click the bell to get notifications when we go live and we upload awesome new content. And don't forget, if you can, make sure to share our stream on all your social media outlets. We appreciate it, and thanks for helping us grow the Pop XP channel.
All right, we're at issue 26, and oh boy, I love these issues because this is another classic. But first off, we got to do the technical stuff with the technical wizard down below. That's Niall Scala. Scala, what's going on?
Oh, you know what's going on, guys. First and foremost, everyone out there that's watching, make sure to look below and click that subscribe button and smash that bell to get notifications when we go live and we upload awesome new content like this video. And gentlemen, I'm excited. We got a great show. You definitely have something that you pulled out of the woodwork that is new to me. I was not aware of this. I feel like a fair is in order, like a celebration of some kind. I don't know. Fan me down, because I'm ready for a fair. What do we got, John? What do we got, Steve?
Okay, what we're going to do today is I'm going to go through an issue, but first, we've been having a lot of legends on this, and now this is an underappreciated legend. Steve, why don't we tell them who we're going to talk about today, and we're going to go over some stories of the man.
Bill Mantlo.
Yes.
Okay. Now, the reason we haven't heard a lot from Bill Mantlo was because many years ago he had an accident, and so he has not been in the public arena. He did not go to shows, did not do any reunions, so his name has sort of fallen by the wayside. Whereas only those people who were there and read the titles that Bill Mantlo made famous, of course. I think he is most famous for ROM Space Knight. He also did Micronauts, and he also did an extended run on The Incredible Hulk. Oh. Also, multiple issues of Marvel Team Up. So it's a pleasure today to bring some light to Mr. Bill Mantlo, and both me and John being Hulk fans, there was some Bill Mantlo Hulk magic. So yes, today, Bill Mantlo.
And we're gonna go. And Steve, I think you forgot to say, co-creator of Rocket Raccoon. Yes, Bill Mantlo, my friend.
Was that also from the magazine?
No, yeah, but he was the first guy to put him in the comic. And,
yes.
Yeah,
because he was just known as Rocket, basically. And then he became Rocket Raccoon, right?
Right.
And then
he
issued 271.
And then he did that limited series too that kind of established. And Bill Mantlo, what happened to him too when they first made Guardians of the Galaxy? And I know he's bed-stricken and he's like. They actually let him see a screener of the first Guardians of the Galaxy. They actually brought it into the place where he stays, and he got to see it. So he got to see Rocket Raccoon, like in the lights. Who would have ever thought that character would get as popular as it has? And
it's incredible.
It's incredible. And you know what's sad? His brother, who used to take care of him, he actually passed away last year, or was it the year before, which was pretty sad. I was actually friends with him on Facebook, and he actually passed away. Sad to say, because he was the one that was taking care of Bill. So I don't know what that situation, how that's going now, but it's pretty interesting. But Bill Mantlo, he he is to me like another Roger Stern. He seems to be in that like he can write the great dialogue and he has some great like plots and stuff, and that his Hulk is second only to Roger Stern, or if it even is, it's one of those things that it was just incredible, his run. And I want to show a few things here that first, but before we get into the Hulk, I got this story. I don't know if you know, but it's Marvel Fanfare number 7. Now, what is interesting about this? I actually got this off the shelf when I was really young, and obviously it's the Hulk versus the Blob and Unis. That's why I got it, of course, because of the Hulk. But Bill Mantlo didn't write that story. So reading that, there's a backup story that were in every Marvel Fanfare. This story right here is one of the greatest stories I have ever read. And when I made my binder of the greatest Marvel comic stories ever, this was in it. These 10-page story right here. I thought I would get it for the Hulk versus the Blob, which was a fantastic story too. But that was more fun. Do you remember that story?
I do remember it. I remember
when
the
he
Hulk
punches
lifting the Blob off the ground.
Yeah, and then he punches him in the stomach and does it. But yeah, that was fun. But this took a pretty serious turn, and it really affected my life, because when I read this proved to me that comics were like a serious breed, and like it just touched me. So now we'll go to the first page here. Oh, it's so cool. Bless the beasts and the children. Okay, it starts off with the cop is chasing, chasing this other, I think, this van with the Daily Bugle and all this, and then there's a boy there. If you see the African American boy, and he has a dog, and what we find out, he's like in the way. All this stuff is happening. Next page. Now, Daredevil is on one of those gargoyles. He sees the boy. He's not moving or anything. He doesn't see why. Daredevil saves the day. He grabs the kid. The car crashes. And then if you look in the last panel there, the dog scoots away while this is all this melee is going on. Next page now. You see Daredevil do his little flip. Goes back, everybody's happy, but then you see the kid and he starts calling for his dog. His dog's name is Skipper. He's like, "Where's Skipper? Where's Skipper?" So he's trying to go out there, and Daredevil sees him going, but Daredevil grabs him, and then he says, "Without my dog, I'm blind." You realize that the boy that was like he's blind, and he was being led by that dog. It was like a guide dog, and you see Daredevil, he takes great concern here, because all of a sudden he understands the kid's pain. So he's looking around, Daredevil, and he sees the leash, and he's saying I should be able to locate the dogs by his heartbeat. So he goes, I should do this. And he goes, and so Daredevil sets off that he's going to find this dog. So next page now. Here you see Daredevil giving the boy. So Daredevil looks at him, and look at that third panel. And he goes, telephone the boy's parents, because he said, I'm going to get your dog. He said, don't worry, I'm going to do this, because he's going to stop whatever he was doing. He's going to go get this dog. And so you see the kid leaving, and then you see if the little boy says, if anybody can find Skipper, Daredevil can. So it starts off great. Daredevil's going to go and he's going to find this dog. And this is where I started learning about Daredevil's power, because I just thought it was a radar sense. I really wasn't so keen on finding the details of it. This comic started showing me that. So here you see Daredevil going through the city, and he's hearing all the different heartbeats of the dogs. So he's trying to figure out which one. But then he starts doubting himself. You see him in the last panel, and he says, how am I going to find a lost dog? All those heartbeats kind of sound alike. He can't see the detail of the dog, so he's trying to think okay, I'm going to try to do the best I can. Next page now. Here you see Daredevil going through the city, and he starts seeing all the dogs in the city, and then you see him on the ledge there, and he says, nothing, blast it, nothing. Then he starts, Daredevil with the internal dialogue. He's like, what kind of hero am I if I asked that kid, I was going to tell that kid that I was going to get a dog? He's like, and now I can't do it. And then through the background, you see what's going on with Skipper. You hear Skipper growling and stuff, and Daredevil hears this. And then next page now. Then you see this guy, he's going to throw a net on him. Daredevil swings in, he kicks him, and he's about to knock the guy out. And then the guy's like, hey, Daredevil, what are you doing? He goes, I'm a dog catcher. He catches strays and all that stuff. And then the dog scurries off. And then Daredevil's like, oh, I see. He made a mistake and all that. And he's like, yeah. And he's like, he goes, I'm searching for a dog. He goes, lost early this morning. He goes, but there's so many in the city. I love it now. Now you're seeing like this is a kind of a tough thing for him. You know, he can fight Gladiator, he can fight the Jester and all that stuff, but this is like a little bit different because he can't see detail. He's only going through heartbeats and stuff. So next page now. The dog, he sees the dog catcher and all that stuff, and the dog's like, he goes, I take them to an animal shelter, and he said, but if I could help you. So he tells him where that animal shelter is, and then you see Daredevil swinging in there, and then they have a lot of dogs in there, and you see that they have Skipper already in there, and they have him in the cage where they catch a lot of these strays and stuff. So go ahead, Niall, next one. So Daredevil goes in there. This is incredible. This was the first time. This is such a great scene. So Daredevil swings in there. He talks to the lady, and he tells her about the dogs that came in. He goes, it might be one of the ones I'm looking for. So she opens up the canteen where all the dogs are, and look at Daredevil. He can't handle it. He hears all the dogs, all the fear, and he's like, no, it's all overwhelming for him. This was incredible to me because I started realizing Daredevil's power, and it started making sense to me. And he's like, he couldn't take it because he could just see all the fear, all the heartbeats, and all that images, and he had to get out of there. So go to the next page now. He's like, get me out of here. He just could not handle it. And she's like, what's the matter, Daredevil? Like, she doesn't know that he's blind and like how he perceives things. So he couldn't take it. So, and then the next panel, you see the dog Skipper coming through who they caught earlier. And they noticed that they thought he was just an abandoned dog. So when there's so many of these abandoned dogs coming through the city, you see him, he's just like, no license dog? Nope, just another stray. Maybe someone's looking for him. He's like, maybe, but with our budget cut to the bone, we have no room with him until he's claimed. So you see Daredevil on the side there. I love what he says this. Too much terror, too much fear. Like he could feel all the dogs in hysteria and stuff. But then he sees on her hand, she has the leash that he notices that she has the leash of the dog. And he's like, where did you get that? He goes, that's what I know. That's what I'm looking for. She goes, oh, that dog just came in. He's like, take me to her. So she's like, come on, Daredevil, come on. And he's down. Go ahead, next page. They put the dog here, and you can see that he goes, damn, why do people raise dogs if they don't want to keep them? He says, lie down, lad. That won't hurt, I promise. Believe me, I've done this as often to know. He euthanizes him, right? He puts him down. And then you see Daredevil, he comes there and he's like, doctor, where's that dog? He goes, you mean that friendly little brown white with the white one? He goes, he's in there. So then Daredevil goes in this thing and all he sees is death. This is brilliant too. You are a hero. Those with whom you have interacted in your hero's role have dubbed you the man without fear. They were wrong. Tonight you are afraid. For soon you must leave this place and shelter and tell a small blind boy who trusted you that sometimes heroes fail. And he goes there and he looks out. Yeah, it was so powerful.
I have goosebumps right now.
Yeah, you have to remember being at such a young age and look at that. Look at that panel too. The boy knows Daredevil is going to come and he's going to save he's going to save the dog, and he just wasn't in time. And he just could not do it. And even though he thought it would be easy, he started seeing even there was a limit to his power. And it was just 10 pages of just a brilliant, beautiful, sad story that told a tale that sometimes heroes fail. That is Bill Mantlo. I had no idea who Bill Mantlo was. I had no idea who a lot of these writers was. But I loved that Hulk story before this, but when I read this, I did. I cried a little bit because it was so sad. And, even the art was really good of the boy and stuff. So Daredevil couldn't do it. He could not save that. So, Steve, a little something about the story?
Yeah. Again, Bill Mantlo doesn't get any credit. That's a very deep story. And so basically what he was doing was shining a light on, dogs that are being, euthanized, put down. So it's basically, like an animal rights story, but it's not hitting you over the head with it. It's a very cleverly done.
Mhm.
By the way, I don't know what happened to the artist, George Freeman. I didn't see him do much more. But the art in this issue is beautiful and
Beautiful.
clean. Now, obviously, because the issue isn't part of continuity or anything like that, he had time to work on this story and really get it down right. And obviously, the art technique and styles that they are using here are, the techniques that Frank Miller was using a lot at the time, so that you can definitely see it there. But I constantly heard over the years, and I'm going to use the H word here, a word that I hate to hear, but many people would say, "Oh, Bill Mantlo is a hack. He just does this, he just does that." And I'm thinking, did you ever read this story? The depth, the dialogue, the skill. I get really annoyed. I'm very passionate when someone comes up to me and starts slagging off Bill Mantlo. I don't like it, and they will, believe you me, they will get the sharp end of my tongue, and I won't take it. Bill would often do these little quiet moments. He, especially in his run on the Hulk. I mean, there was massive scenes of destruction and fighting, but then quiet little moments, panels of human interaction. And the more we can spread Bill Mantlo's name, the better, and just for those guys out there that don't know, Bill Mantlo was working at Marvel so he could pay himself through law school. He was going to become a lawyer.
Oh.
And unfortunately, one day while he was out riding a bicycle in the streets of New York, he got run over and basically got a terrible head injury. And so it took him out of regular life. And, it's very sad. But there are a group of us of a certain age. And some of us are I've met some people who are, believe me, I've met some people who are ROM fans, which are they are unbelievable. You mentioned Bill Mantlo, they get tears in their eyes. So I'm very happy today to bring some light to Mr. Bill Mantlo today.
And as you were talking about his Hulk run, now, once again, I thought Roger Stern, it was one of those transitions, because Mantlo came after Roger Stern.
Yes.
And it was smooth as silk. There was no gap. There was no thing. It just went straight through. And I learned that from you, Steve, about those. I never really realized that till we talking about it. And it's like, sometimes you get that little bump there and then you got to get back into it.
Yeah.
Reading, because you got to remember, I had to go back and get those Hulk issues. So I'm a little older. I'm still young and stuff. But then I loved Roger Stern's Hulk, the those stories. He drew the Hulk so powerful. And then you get to Bill Mantlo. And I didn't even know there was a transition there. I thought it was the same thing. I did not even. Now I look back and I'm like, wow, that's what every comic writer and editor wants. They want, if the sales are good, because Roger Stern went on, I think, to do Captain America or something, whatever.
Yes. And also Doctor Strange.
Yeah. And then somebody has to fill that gap. I'll do it. Boom. And he just did it. Now, as you were talking about the Hulk, as a kid reading this issue, and the first time I got this issue was in a 3-pack, it is, in my opinion, one of the greatest bits of dialogue of the Hulk ever written. Now, Roger Stern was great at it, but Bill Mantlo had, like you said, those bursts. He was great all the way through, but then he had those bursts. But I'll tell you something, as a young kid reading this issue, I never forgot it. And I must have bought, Steve, I'm not lying, maybe 100 copies, because you could used to get them in the 50-cent bin. And I used to have them in the bathroom and everywhere, just like my one Journey into Mystery 112. That was there too. Niall, could you show them, please? 252, Hulk. Now, this is a great story. It was a two-parter and stuff, Sal Buscema. But we're not going to go into the story, but I just want you to see the dialogue. Now, I remember this dialogue. Steve, the first time I read this, I must have been maybe 10, 11 years old. Until this day, it is still the greatest bit of dialogue of the Hulk I've ever said. It's like biblical to me. Just the attitude, the power, the raw. Niall, first page. Obviously, Doc Samson's down, but let's go to the third panel here, and I'm going to read it to you. This is how the Hulk talks. If you want to write the Hulk, read these panels. Yes, green hair, Hulk is here. Hulk has come to do what you could not do. Hulk has come to save his friends. And then he's saying, gotta get to my feet. He goes, can't let you go after them. There'd be a fight. Changelings must be reasoned with. Look at this last panel. I want to get it tattooed on my back with the dialogue. Talk, bah. That is Samson's way, not Hulk's. Reason did not help Samson, saves Hulk's friends. And now Samson can't even help himself. Oh, it was just so disdained because look at Samson crawling. The Hulk is power incarnate. And look at Samson like, Hulk is looking at him like, next page, Niall. Ready? The next page. Now, Hulk slams the thing and now he's walking away. Let's look at the bottom three panels. You ready? Now, once again, I want to get each of these tattooed on me. The Hulk's walking and the Hulk and Doc Samson, stop, Hulk. If you go after the changelings, they may kill the captives. I can't let you go. You ready for this? This is what you call, oh my God. Samson could not stop those who took Betty and Rick and Fred. Samson could not stop Hulk. Samson is too weak. That is because Samson fights with his head and not with his heart. Hulk's heart is angry, so Hulk will smash whoever hurts Hulk's friends. Though Samson's hair is green like the Hulk's, Samson's weapons are words. Hulk does not need words. Hulk has power. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? When I read that as a kid, I was like, that's the Hulk. Hulk has power. It's just so in your face, so disdainful, and he's telling them that's where it's at. Bill Mantlo, if the comic gods know that you're out there, I just want you to know, if you ever see this, thank you. You changed my life with those panels, because when I started writing my comics and drawing my comics, I based it off all those panels, because just the dialogue, as it was simple, it was Hulk to a T. Oh, I'm sorry, Steve. Go ahead.
Well, it's funny because I remember picking up that issue as a back issue because of course, I wasn't buying books off the rack. And as I've mentioned before, I used to ask my comic shop owner to go to London and buy back issues. And he would never get like straight runs. There would always be like, issue 252, 256.
Look at the sweat, Steve. Look at the sweat. Just reading those panels. Luferegno! I used to run around my neighborhood while all the kids were playing like tea and house. I would be running around the neighborhood with my ripped up tough skin jeans. Nobody wanted to play with me. Go ahead, Steve. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think I can understand why they wouldn't want to play with me. But yeah, as I was saying, the guy would go up to London and he could never just come back and say, oh, I've got the next 10 issues in a row. It was always bits and pieces. And I remember he came back one time And he had some issues from Roger Stern. Okay, he finally finished. It got to issue 242 and 243, which finishes off the story with Tyrannus and they who wield power.
Oh.
And then they had a 244, which is like a fill-in issue with It, the Living Colossus.
Yes.
And then issue 245, Bill Mantlo, Hulk is going to get Jarella's body. And the opening splash page has the Hulk landing, just facing forward. And I know Rob Liefeld must have tried to copy that picture a million times. He's landing like this. And Bill Mantlo is Roger Sterning it to the next level on this issue because the army throws everything. And there's this issue where they're hitting him with missiles and bombs, and he just grabs all these missiles, crushes them into a ball with his hands, and throws it back.
Steve, can I stop you for a second? I got that issue when my mother bought me. It was the comforter set of. I don't know if you guys know this, but it would come with this. It would come with the sheets for the bed, and then it would come for the curtains. But they had a comic in one. They would have a comic in there. And in the comic that was in there was that issue. That's how I got it. When my mom bought me the thing, and I remember that. And all those bombs.
Oh,
now John froze.
Yeah, because now you're still frozen.
Am I still frozen the whole time? Oh.
Yeah, still frozen. And now look at John. He's frozen in that weird facial motion right there.
What is going on here? Well, let's see. You stay right here, Steve. I'm about to check something.
I'm okay, but
you stay there. It's gonna keep record. Oh shoot!
Oh, he's back.
I didn't realize I was still frozen.
Yeah, did everything?
It never showed on my end that I'm frozen, and it's showing I have a perfect signal. It's saying
you've been frozen the whole time now.
No way.
Yes,
the entire time.
Yes.
Let's see something here.
It's a good picture of you now.
Yes, you're smiling.
You're smiling.
You've got a little blur behind you as well.
I'll have to edit something over it just the whole time.
Okay, but go ahead, Steve. You want to finish up?
Yeah, start over.
So that's why I said there was no dip in the action. It was like Bill Mantlo came on the book and understood the essence and was writing for Sal Buscema in such a way where it was just like sheer power. And I must admit, and I'm sure, John, you agree with me, the amount of power that Bill Mantlo could get Sal Buscema to do on the pages.
He wrote for him.
Yes, and in an astounding way. And at that time, I'm young. I'm not a big guy. I was living vicariously through the Hulk, and I was like, wow, look how people are trying to tell him what to do, and he just smashes his way through. It doesn't matter who you are, whatever your plans are, you're like, oh, I've been around for 10 million years and I'm going to use you. No, the Hulk is going to smash you to pieces. So yeah, issue 245 with Jarella was, fantastic. And then when we get into of course, in issue 250 with the Silver Surfer, another great issue right there. The issue is getting, a lot of collecting heat right now. And of course, I read 251 with the 3D man, and of course, 252 with the Changelings.
Whatever happened to the 3D man?
And then 254 with the UFOs. Come on, John. Come on now. And then 255 with Thor. 256 there with
wait a second, Steve. Do you know 255 was actually turned into the cartoon in the Hulk 90 series? They took that fighting under the bridge, doing all that. That was in the Hulk 90s cartoon. They readapted it to an episode, but I was like, wow, 255. So awesome. Go ahead.
Yes. Again, so I remember reading the issues and just, trying to piece the missing issues together. And then he goes off into the 260s. And I remember the Hulk Hunters from issue, was it 266 or 267, something like that.
Amphibian, Nightcrawler, which was Roy's character, and that
Yes.
Torgo, the one that the Jack Kirby and Stan Lee character.
Yes. And they're like, we've come because we need you to help us fight someone, that we can't beat. We need your help. And I remember as a youngster, I was like,
the Galaxy Master.
It's like, who in the hell are they going to go off and fight?
Oh,
so
yeah.
They go off to fight the Galaxy Master. And then, for all you guys, and I know all you guys, when he comes back from that adventure, he gets an extra dose of radiation. He meets Rocket Raccoon in 271.
Yeah.
But, okay, I'm not going to say too much about this issue now because it's going to be something that I showcase another time.
Okay.
Issue 272 with Sasquatch and Wendigo. One of my favorite stories of all time.
All time.
We're doing a 12-hour segment on that issue alone.
And Steve, that is the last issue the Incredible Hulk of the way we remember him ever appeared. Because the next issue, he starts having Banner's brain, and then we start going into the mindless Hulk. See, I want to tell you something that they were getting fed up with Bill Mantlo's stories of the Incredible Hulk. That's why he had to start switching stuff up. The stories that we would die for. Marvel, the editor, I don't know who the editor is. I think it was Jim Shooter. He wanted him to start changing it up. So then we got the Hulk with Banner's mind, which I didn't like at all. I could not stand the Hulk weak or doubting himself. No, Hulk has power. Ugh. And so then what happens? He goes to the crossroads. Remember and then I hated that. I'm sorry. I hated that I hated the mindless Hulk. It wasn't my Hulk. I was like, and then Sal Buscema would start drawing him. Remember with the indents? He made him more monstrous. And I did not like it. Now, he had some good moments in that because it's Bill Mantlo. But I always have a little horror story because, Steve, 289 is when I start collecting on every month now. That's why it's so important to me, that issue. Now, 289, the Abomination's crying and all that. Now
with MODOK.
Yes. Now and MODOK was scary in that issue.
Yes,
MODOK. Yes,
he was punishing the Abomination.
Oh my God. You didn't see things it's all new to me. But now I start collecting the Hulk every single month. But I'm looking at this and I'm like,
wow, John, you know what issue I start collecting every month?
What?
Issue 284.
Oh.
I was a leader. I mean, come on now. Who are you?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't get it.
And Steve, I'm going to make this announcement here on the air. I still have that comic all torn up, and my friend Frankie put a stamp on it of his name, Frank. I was so mad on him, but I still have it. When next time I come to Torpedo, I'm going to give it to you. It was my first. It's all kind of, and I want you to keep it and put it in your collection. And it's the one, it's 289.
Wow.
But it's my childhood one. Yeah, I want to give it to you. Yes, the reason I'm saying this on the air, the reason why is because experiencing this all with you and noticing we have so many parallels, I think you deserve it now because I'm not as into comics anymore. I still collect little things, but I don't collect comics. And I see you have all your boxes still. You still have all that stuff. And now you moved into your new place. I think it's at a better home with you. So next time we come up around you, I will never forget. I'm gonna put it out on my table, but I want to give it to you, and I want that to be in your collection. And that's when little John Cimino was starting to collect and I would go to the CVS and get it, but that was the issue. But I still have it. It is all raggedy and everything and loved to the death. That's my sentimental issue, but I want to give it to you.
Wow. I just find it amazing that basically we are within 6 months of each other of beginning to buy the Hulk off the rack. And, I remember I got to 285, which is the issue with Zax. And for those of you who are unaware, that there is a splash page, from issue 285. Okay, right there. That's a Salva piece. Okay, I had that tattooed on my arm in Germany in December 1985.
Oh my God! Then, so you went right for. You were like, I'm getting this now.
Yes.
Holy.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Have you had it retouched?
Yes, I did. I had it recolored because it went completely faded.
But Steve, really quickly, this is why we have this thing for Bill Mantlo. We were getting into it, and he was the guy. It wasn't sure there was Stan Lee and all that stuff, but right off the bat, because we didn't have access to that stuff, but right off the bat, it's Bill Mantlo being consumed by us and getting into our brain. He's the writer.
But again, it's like a double-edged sword, because we love Bill Mantlo for his work early on when he takes over from Roger Stern.
Yes.
But both me and you, we lost a little bit when in issue 273.
Oh, yeah.
Then, of course, when he comes back from the Secret Wars in issue 295, he's got his broken leg. And that's when they begin that little storyline going up to issue 300, where he's losing his mind completely. And then in issue 300, I'm sure all you comic nerds out there are like laughing right now because you've seen this before. Doctor Strange sends him off Earth because he
Days of Rage.
Sends him off to the
but
Crossroads. So
yeah, but Steve, that
was a difficult run for me as well, because there was an issue in 302 where he's on this planet and these little red aliens.
I hated that. Steve, I cried. I was so, but this made me hate it. Now, wait a second. I got backstory on that. Bill Mantlo was saying he was starting to run out of ideas. He had to do, when I started, I hated that little fucking, I hated that little redhead lad that was punching him. It drove me crazy. I hated that world, and his strength meant nothing. I hated that. But Steve, really quickly, Mantlo was saying, I remember reading, he was saying he was running out of ideas, and that's why he kept going off a little. He kept doing a little more. But what happened? Do you remember he eventually went on to Alpha Flight, and that's when John Byrne came in. Remember, John Byrne did those 6 issues.
Yes,
I know Al Milgrom took a couple of stories in there to tie up some loose ends. But
yes, but I must say, before we jump ahead,
I'm sorry, Steve. That little freaking redhead.
Something has to be mentioned, which has become one of the most significant stories in the Hulk's entire history.
Right, I know what you're going to talk about, yeah.
So just before Bill Mantlo switches over to go and do Alpha Flight, he does issue 312.
Mm-hmm.
And in issue 312, he basically reveals that there was a personality within Dr. Banner that was always going to be the Hulk, always going to be there. And it was the basis for what Peter David came along afterwards. And he grabbed the initial story plots and ideas for issue 312 and then, basically pumped them full of steroids. And then we got the weird, Mr. Fix-It and all that other stuff. And then later on, we got the different, minds, brains of Hulk. What was he? Intelligent Hulk, Crazy Hulk, Banner Scared. Now, again, we're getting a little bit off Bill Mantlo. But in issue 312, Bill Mantlo was the one that did that. And I think what Bill Mantlo was doing was doing his version of Roger Stern's story in issue 227. Where the Hulk went now in that there,
with Doc Samson doing the psychiatry.
Going into his mind. But Bill Mantlo, obviously, I think you're probably right. Jim Shooter was like, "Give me something new, Bill. Do something. I don't want him just smashing things." And this again is why we have to give credit to Bill Mantlo, because he wrote a story so significant, so incredible in that one issue 312 that it sparked 10 years worth of stories from someone else and others, all based on that. So when Bill Mantlo was put under pressure to come up with something, and it was not like, well, I'm going to have him break the earth in half. I'm going to do an internal personal story of inner anger. And that's been the template of the Hulk forevermore.
Forevermore.
Now, we have talked religiously here about the Hulk, but I really want to talk about the majesty of what Bill Mantlo was able to do with a lifeless plastic toy. Basically, he was given this toy, he had it in his hands, and basically Jim Shooter's basically saying, all right, I want you to create a whole universe and stories for this toy. I don't know anyone else who could have succeeded. If you'd given me that toy and asked me to go and write something, I would have said, you know what? I'm going to go and drink these 9 bottles of whiskey. So about 5 years ago, I read ROM 1 through 29 straight after not reading them for over 20 odd years because I wanted to get a feel again. And all the work that Bill Mantlo did, all the fleshing out of the dire wraiths, all of that stuff, all the guest stars, you know, with Torpedo, that's all great Bill Mantlo stuff. Everything about ROM that we know, all the stuff that we love. And by the way, I'm not joking. I've met some serious comic dealers of a certain age. And if I mention ROM, they're goo-goo for gaga. They're like, oh my God, ROM, I love ROM. You know, then I'm having a conversation. And then anyone who's around us that's younger is looking at us going, what's wrong with those guys? Who's ROM? You know, but I want to segue into something that happened. And I've mentioned this guy's name before. When I was at school and I was just trying to find comic people, Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith came in with that bag of comics, and in that bag of comics, I already talked about issue Thor 291. However, that was not the only issue. There was ROM 27 that he pulled out, and that's the issue where Terax the Tamer goes into the Dark Nebula. And he comes back and he's just shredded and he's got this fear in his eyes like, no, don't send me back there. We can't do it. And I remember thinking at that time, I was like, well, Galactus is like, and Terax, these guys are really, there's no way. What is out there? So Bill Mantlo made me die because he only had the issue 27. He goes, oh, I think I've got the other issue somewhere else, you know, la, la, la. And I was like, you just can't bring in one issue and leave me hanging? I was like, what happens? And he's like, well, I'll tell you later. By the way, many things about Kevin Smith, I wanted to strangle him. But after seeing that issue, and it's one of the issues that, you know, made me want to like get everything cosmic after a while. And of course, if we're talking about importance, okay, we have to talk about ROM 24, okay, which features Nova and Nova Corps. So I get to see ROM, Nova, the Nova Corps, Sabasema, on Galador, Skrulls. I'm telling you, if you have never read these issues, I don't know if they've ever been reprinted because I know IDW had the rights for a while, but you can still find those ROM issues. You know, they're not very expensive. You can still get them and read them and enjoy. Look at that credit box. You'll see Bill Mantlo, Sal Buscema. And by the way, I think Al Milgrom was doing a lot of inking, but Sal also did a lot of his own inking. Yeah. But he also wrote the Micronauts. So Bill was the guy to go to create universes. He would go home and create universes and then allow anyone else, you know, to come and play in his universe. So I tip my hat to Bill Mantlo for creating the whole ROM universe, all the dire wraiths, you know, and everything to do with it. And I hope and I pray, you know, because I have a hard time dealing with the fact that he got the short end of the stick in life. He did not deserve to spend 30 years of his life in a room, unable to do anything for himself because of this accident. A massive talent was taken away from us. And whenever I read something, and I did see that clip, by the way, where the producers for the Guardians of the Galaxy went over to his place to give him a preview before anyone else. I just hope and pray. I hope and pray that it did something for him, and made him, try and forget the drudgery of his life. Again, it's very sad. I do get very emotional when I think of Bill Mantlo, and whenever I see someone complaining about life or whatever it is, and they're like, "Oh, my Starbucks was cold," I'm thinking, take what you have. Don't take it for granted. We have been out here living life, doing shows, talking, doing things. And Bill Mantlo, whose mind and creative energies were snuffed out by an awful accident, has been stuck in that room for 30 years, and I swear it's just not fair. It's just not fair. So that's, I don't know what you want to say about that.
Yeah, I totally understand, because it's personal for us, Steve, because what did he give to us? Like, he gave us that happiness, that our minds were looking for something, and it was those Hulk issues. That was the guy. He was writing that stuff that I was just so enthralled by. And it is sad, because he was doing something that we could only dream of doing, and then he lost it all. Like, he was writing the Hulk. He was writing these comic books. He was creating those. And that's a big thing, especially for us, because we love comic books. And the fact that, it is still nice that he's still alive, but it's got to be painful for the fact that he sees all this stuff, and he probably in his head, in his own way, probably knows, I have so much more to tell. I wish I could, I don't know, like, I think that, like, he's probably still writing stories in his head, and in the way that he can. That's how I think about that.
The only way that I can,
like, justify it.
The only way I can get past it, and again, I always preface this, I am not a massively religious person, okay? However, I just believe that when Bill passes over, okay, and the injury and everything is going to go away, and he's going to be up in an area surrounded by the guys he used to work with, and then in my mind, I want him to be working again. I want him to be clear, because he deserves it. He deserves he deserves that. It's the only way that I mentally can get past the fact that I can't get over the fact that after all those years, on Earth, trapped, maybe he does have thoughts and memories that will pop into his head about doing a story, or maybe something flashes back.
Yeah.
Okay? So for me, I just imagine him, at some point when he passes over, everything becomes clear, and then he can get on and do some work wherever, whatever realm we're talking about. Again, I don't want to get too heavily, into psychobabble and stuff like that, but that helps me get through the day, because, you are right, John. He gave us so much joy. I can't, the same as you. I read the same issue 50 times. And I was just going on, and I'd flick backwards and forwards, looking at a single panel going, wow, look at that. This is magnificent. So I sent my thoughts through the ether to Bill Mantlo. I don't know. I know it can't ease his, his pain and his frustrations that he must have, but that's the way I feel.
Yeah, and he's loved. And Niall, any last words for Mr. Mantlo? I don't know if you know much about him, but there's still a tragic story there.
Oh, it's a horror. I know of the story. I know of him. As far as his books and everything are concerned, I've never really dived in. And to be honest, I read ROM and stuff, but I never really paid attention to who wrote the books or illustrated the books at those times. So it's great, though, that we're talking about him, because it's not a name you hear often. If it wasn't for a fan request to elaborate on some of this stuff, I mean, I would we be talking about him? And I think that's great. I think it's great to be talking about these other creators. But again, to be trapped the way he is now is just, it is a terribly lost talent, especially just from the samples you've shown tonight.
I want to throw an analogy out to you, because I know both of you have seen the episode I'm going to talk about. When I think of Bill Mantlo, I think of Captain Pike.
Yes.
Now, in that issue, which is one of my favorite issues of all time, Captain Pike, you know, he's in that box, and then he gets taken off to that other world, and then he's able to live again.
Oh,
Yes.
It just kills me. I've seen that episode a million times. Okay, I've been watching it since the late 70s, and that's what I hope and pray and feel for Bill Mantlo. Yes, he got the short end of the stick here, but at some point, he's going to be that Captain Pike, and he is going to be happy again.
Yes.
and an ending for me. I mean, this is what people don't understand about like this podcast or some people that are outside of comics. And this is like, it's almost biblical, these words that these stories have like shaped us, like how they can truly, this is why we give respect to these creators. This is why I'm so protective of Roy, and I'm so protective of these people, because sometimes now Roy sees it, but sometimes a lot of these guys never saw it, and they do not see the magic of what they give to people like me. I'm no different from anybody else. I'm just this Hispanic kid that was poor and that I could read. Thank God my parents wanted me to speak English, though they always let me read comic books, even when it wasn't kosher. So I got to feel that magic. But these, I call them like little postcards or love letters from heaven or from Oz. When you open them up, and Bill Mantlo was that guy. I first was like, I collected. I would get it every month, and it was him. He was that guy. So, Steve, in ending, you're the basis of this whole podcast is this. When you said you opened up those pages and you saw your imagination in front of you in color, you saw it. I don't think it's ever been said better than that, because when you said that at that restaurant, that's I was like, I love this guy. I'm pissed off. I didn't say that. I should have said that. I was thinking it, but I should have said it. But in end, Bill Mantlo, you're still here, and if you ever get wind of this, and hopefully maybe you do, you're loved. Your work will last forever. And then when I die, I'm going to be thinking, when I go to the pearly gates and I think of some of the stories that defined me, your stories are right there. So no matter what, you changed this guy's life. And I know he changed a million more, but I thank you. I give respect for you. And you know what? It's sad, but you made magic, man. And if I had to be in your shoes to do what he did to give that love, I would do it, because it would have been enough. Because look at the lives he changed. Unbelievable. These things are more than just comic books, or they are literally life-changing things. That's why there's a reason why the movie industry, it's the biggest movie industry like franchise in the history of movies. These characters will never die, and Bill Mantlo is a reason why. One of the reasons. He's there. He's on that spoke. Bill Mantlo, love you. Last word, Steve?
Yes, I love those words, and I'm in total agreement. Both me and John, of a certain age, we were buying your books off the rack, and we were ravenously buying back issues wherever we could find them.
Oh.
And we would spend hour upon hour. We didn't have to go out and play. We were too busy inside investigating different universes, the Galaxy Master, the Changelings, the Gardener, Jirella's body, the High Evolutionary. Okay, we were there. So you gave us all that joy, and of course, in the joy of ROM and all those beautiful Marvel team-ups with Frankenstein and the Man-Wolf. We didn't even scratch the surface of that. So I am very happy today that we've done this episode, and I'm hoping and praying that anyone who is maybe of a younger generation, or maybe someone who's older that was reading Independence and not really taking a look, please investigate Bill Mantlo's catalog. Go in there, take a read, and enjoy, and try and follow up and do some research about Mr. Bill Mantlo.
All right, let's get out of here, Steve. What do we do?
Boom!
Hey everyone, thank you for joining us on Pop XP. If you haven't already, make sure to click that subscribe button and also click the bell for notifications when we go live and we upload some awesome new content. Also, don't forget to head on over to Twitter and follow us at the Pop XP and over on Instagram at the Pop XP. Thanks again everyone, and we'll see you soon.